So I wanted to talk about some of the silent stims. There is a lot out there about autistic stimming, a lot about autistic stimming in children with regards to sort of movement, like arms flapping and the stereotypical thing of a young boy sort of hitting his head on a wall, those sort of things, and spinning around. And I want to talk about the more silent stims that I certainly found as an autistic child, an undiagnosed autistic child, that I would do to regulate myself. And obviously at the time I didn't know what they were, my parents wouldn't have known what they were, and so I just got on with it. Anyhow, so silent stims. So as a child, I used to very much sort of stare, like zone out and stare. I'd stare at patterns, I'd stare at the trees moving. I'd love to stare at the reflections. If something was reflecting from the window onto a wall, I would stare for ages at the patterns and make sort of faces out of them in my mind. So there was a lot of sort of staring going on. Also as a child, I would do very much sort of counting. So if I was walking along the road, I would in my head be counting the amount of paving stones until the end of the road, and I had to get to the end of the road before the car came, and all these sort of, they're not games, all these sort of again patterns, I suppose, finding patterns. I used to follow the patterns on the road, on the curbs. I used to like to stand on the edge of the curbs. I used to follow patterns. If there was like uneven cracks and stuff like that, I would try and follow the cracks, the pathways. I would also, when I was young, I used to bite my nails a lot, and I still very much, one of my silent stims is nail picking. So I will pick at the skin around my nails, I'll bite at the skin around my nails, I will just play with my nails, like rub my finger nail on another nail, very much nail based stims. Another one that I do is, I have done since I was very, very young, is bite the inside of my mouth. So I used to bite it so badly and it was so painful, and I used to get ulcerate, and my mum just thought it was hormones, but it was me biting the inside of my mouth, and I still do it. I do it loads. That little bit here, like on the inside of the corner of your mouth, I bite that off. I don't do it as much as I used to, but as a kid I used to do it all the time. Another one, it's just triggered my memory because I'm about to sniff because my nose is really itchy. But I went through a stage of having a constant sniff. And funny enough, my son did this also. Just constantly sniffing for like no reason. Just, there wasn't anything irritating my nose, but I would just sniff all the time. I remember my grandma saying she was going to knit me a nose bag, whatever that meant. I think it's a thing a horse has, I don't know exactly, but yeah, I would sniff loads. Another thing I used to do, which I believe is very common, is I used to play with my hair. I had long hair at the time, or hair, and I used to play with my hair constantly, tying it in knots or brushing it against my face, or like pushing the end like this onto my face, just constantly twirling it around my fingers, how it felt in my fingers, like rolling it in my fingers. Yeah, all these kind of things that no one really would notice. And now I find, like, if I'm reading, I'll do like this on my chin, or sometimes on my nose. And I don't even notice I'm doing it until I notice I'm doing it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm doing that thing again. So again, these are all sort of like delicate stims, if you like. They're kind of things that no one's going to pay attention to. They're not offensive to anyone in any way. But yeah, some of the things that I used to do and some of the things that I do now. But yeah, the finger picking one, goodness. I pick. And I also hate having long nails, like really hate having long nails. Like my son's the same. I like cut them sort of as short as I can without making them bleed. And I went through a stage when I was sort of in my early 20s, mid 20s, where I did the thing that everyone did and had the false nails and everything, to fit in and to, you know, it's what you did. You know, you looked pretty, you had the long hair, you had the nails, and but I'm so glad I've got over that. But yeah, I have to have them super short. I hate long nails and anything like that. But anyway, yes, stimming. So hair twiddling, staring. I still stare, as in like zone out. So when maybe if someone's talking, but it just happens all the time really, any particular given moment, and I'll just, not if I'm concentrating on doing something, but if I'm just sort of standing, I'll just, my son will be like, oh, mummy's staring again, and I'll just sort of zone out, like on a particular object, but then my eyes will sort of glass over and they'll all become blurry, so I'm not really looking at anything. And it can happen, it can be like, you know, a couple of minutes, or it can be a couple of seconds, it differs. But again, that's something that I do, and I find that really calming. But yeah, hair twirling, finger picking, biting the mouth, that was a big one. That used to make my mouth so sore. I'm glad I don't do it quite as badly now. I do still do it, but not as badly. The chin, look, I'm already doing it. The chin thing and the nose thing. I don't walk along pavements now and have to walk along the path or count the steps or any of those things now. But goodness, yeah, going up and down stairs. Used to have to count all up and down how many stairs every time. All these things that you forget, you know, that you did as a child, that you thought everyone did, and then it turns out they didn't do it at all. Anyway, what are your silent stims? And I think as well, particularly for a woman, certainly for an adult, these sort of silent stims are things that we've learned that feel great, but don't interfere with anyone, don't make us look odd in any way. We can still very much fit in with the society's, the status quo, but we can still stim. So what are your silent or invisible stims that no one would really know what you're doing? I'd be really interested to know those. But thank you for watching.